Hey everybody, welcome to the newest episode of The Bearded Gamer Show. As always, I am your host, The Bearded Gamer, Chris Arnone. I do want to make a mention of my shirt. Now, you've probably seen it on the show a few times before. Some good friends of mine at Fresh Baked Tees make this very shirt. Wheatley Laboratories, a little play on Portal 2. Just go to Facebook and search for Fresh Baked Tees, and you can buy one for yourself. They got a lot of other cool stuff. Good news, bad news. So the first piece of news is tomorrow, February 8th, the PlayStation Vita is getting a new update. Now, a couple little things coming with this, like they're going to have a new map application, video recording is going to be on there, but the really cool thing is Mac OS support. Now, no, this doesn't mean you're going to be running OS X Lion on your PlayStation Vita. What it means is currently, if you try to plug in a Vita to a Mac, nothing really happens. You can transfer media files and backup save data to a PC, but not a Mac. Well, that will change on February 8th when the new update rolls out. So all you Mac users that are looking forward to getting your Vita here in the US and Europe, hey, it'll be Mac ready by the time you get it. So that's pretty awesome. That's good news. Some just news. Starting today, when you watch this, so tomorrow for me because I film a day ahead of time, the PlayStation Network will be changing its name to the Sony Entertainment Network. Now, don't get your panties up in a bunch. It's not really going to be a big deal, especially for us gamers. Your currently existing usernames and passwords will work. You'll be able to log in just like you always did, but they're just expanding this network to sort of a full entertainment thing to where it's going to be across multiple devices, not just PlayStation devices. So hence the name change. But really, from what I understand what they're saying, you're not going to see any real difference. Just a name change, a logo change, but for PlayStation Network users, nothing else is really going to happen except, hey, maybe there will be more devices you'll get to use your login and password on. So that's pretty cool. All right, some more good news. So you've heard of Journey, right? Please tell me you've heard of Journey. This sweet little PlayStation game that's on its way to us. I got to play it a little bit at E3. It looks gorgeous. It's so different and fun to play. Well, it has gone gold. And for those who aren't in the know, going gold means it's done. The programming is done. It's sent off now to be, normally put on discs, but it's done. They're done working on it. It's just now awaiting a release date. Now, they're still saying this spring, which should be right around the corner, even though Punxsutawney Phil saw a shadow. So, soon, hopefully we will be getting Journey for PlayStation 3. It's done, so come on. Of course, I'll let you guys know as soon as there is an official release date for Journey. All right, finish up with some just news. Now, this is, the sort of news that relates to, the sky is blue and you'll die without water and things of this obvious nature. That BioWare has sort of hinted that you might want to hang on to your save data for Mass Effect 3 after you beat the game. Shocking, I know. Now, some people maybe were wondering because Mass Effect 3 is supposed to end the story because, of course, you've held on to your save data from 1 and 2 because the decisions you make affect the games going forward. But they are saying, now they haven't confirmed anything or been very strong about this, but there was an interview with associate producer Mike Gamble talking with Gamerzines, and when they asked him about saving your, holding on to your save game data, he said it wouldn't be a bad idea. So, and I've talked before about, I'm sure Mass Effect won't be done with Mass Effect 3. Maybe this central story with Shepard will be done, but when you create a universe like this, there's just so much more you can do, so many stories that can be told, and if what happens in this story affects the entire universe, it could maybe affect the setup and the way the universe works for whatever maybe their next thing is. Or maybe, hey, maybe they're really not done with Shepard. We'll just have to wait and see. All right, guys, let's talk about comic books with the pull list. As always, I will remind you, Wednesday is New Comic Book Day. So go and find your local comic book shop. Go visit them. Talk to your local comic book guru. This is an industry that, needs every dollar you can spare to go into it. So go, talk with them, buy the books I'm about to recommend, and talk with them and see what else they recommend. All right, recommendations for this week. First one is Adventure Time #1. Now, this show is crazy. Personally, I don't really get it. I have some friends who are just like, oh my God, crazy about Adventure Time. They watch on Cartoon Network all the time. I think it streams on Netflix or something, and they're nutters about it. And they make all these inside jokes that I usually don't get, and I've tried to watch it with them. But for their sake, I know they're very excited about this new comic book that's going to follow in those footsteps. And so if you're a fan of Adventure Time, go pick up this comic. I tell you what, it is probably the single hottest book this week. People are very excited about it. People are going to be scooping it up very, very quickly. So you need to hit up your comic book store on Wednesday, or you're probably going to miss your chance. All right. Next recommendation, Secret Avengers 22. It's such an oddball lineup on this team. You've got Beast, Valkyrie, Black Widow, Giant Man, Captain Britain, and Hawkeye is now the leader. No, but you want to know what's going to make this title work? Warren Ellis is writing it. Alex Maleev is doing the art. I mean, Warren Ellis is brilliant. He's hilarious, and you got this new team, this new creative team, new team in the book, new story arc. I mean, this just looks to be explosive from the little preview I've read. Totally different, and once again, as always, great place to jump in. Now's the time. All right, next recommendation is Suicide Squad number 6. Now, little piece of comic book trivia. You see there, Miss Harley Quinn. She was actually introduced by Paul Dini in the 1990s Batman the Animated Series. But she was such a great character, worked so well, DC actually brought her into canon, into the full-blown DC universe because she was so good. All right, so this issue starts a new arc where Harley Quinn has broken out of prison. Supposedly this escape-proof prison started a prison riot, and now the Suicide Squad is being tasked with tracking down her. Their former teammate. She's their former teammate. So that's just this great sort of villain-on-villain action, and that's hot. That's awesome. So been a fan of this series already, and big fan of Harley Quinn. So this is going to be, I think it's going to be a crazy arc. All right, final recommendation: Thief of Thieves number 1. You know what I always thought would be cool? The Thomas Crown Affair done as a comic book. And you know what would make it even more cool? If some big superstar writer took it. Maybe, I don't know, Robert Kirkman, the guy behind The Walking Dead. That's kind of pretty much what this is. Now, not exactly. It's not exactly, the Thomas Crown Affair, but I definitely got that vibe from reading the preview of it. And, there's just something about sort of a cool story idea, this guy who is sort of a, this thief, master thief, and yet because it's Kirkman, there's this raw, real human emotion and everything built into it that makes the story so much more real and deep. And I just, it looks really cool. I'm looking forward to this one. Issue number 1, so it's perfect place. Pick up the first issue, see if you like it, and keep going if you do. All right, enough about comics. Everybody, reviews roundup time. Welcome to a new reviews roundup powered by Gamer Review. First up from last week is Amy for PlayStation Network and Xbox Live Arcade. Daniel Sherstrom prepared to get his pants scared off and said, Amy has the ingredients for a very unique and entertaining horror game. It centers on protecting someone other than yourself, it has a great atmosphere, and trying to face most enemies head-on will quickly lead to disaster. With Resident Evil turning into more of an action horror game, and with little classic survival horror in today's gaming landscape, Amy could have been a welcome breath of fresh air. As it is, with all the bugs and repugnant game design, I can't recommend it to even the most die-hard fan of the genre, and the game is destined for nothing greater than to rot in the digital void from whence it came. Daniel gave Amy a horrible 2.5 out of 10. Next up is the highly anticipated sequel to the lukewarm Final Fantasy XIII, Final Fantasy XIII Part 2. Gordon Bryant had his hopes high as he geared up to review this one and said, Final Fantasy XIII Part 2 doesn't require skill or preparation. It requires a lot of patience and willpower. Square Enix have done everything they could to stretch the game as thin as paper, ensuring that 90% of your time will be spent grinding away or waiting for something to happen, rather than taking the time to give you a deep and engrossing story with characters you can relate to. This is maybe a 5-hour game artificially inflated to 25 hours thanks to repetition and a whole lot of poor design choices. Hinting at untold potential, Final Fantasy XIII Part 2 ultimately delivers nothing more than persistent tedium, a waste of time for everyone involved. Gordon gave Final Fantasy XIII Part 2 a 5.4 out of 10. How about some positive reviews? Carl Kebke, Gamer Review's resident Japanese game fan, grabbed Fortune Summoners for the PC and said,
So Fortune Summoners is definitely more like Reciteer than Chantilly's, but I'd say it falls a bit short. Perhaps if the humor had been more on point and it didn't spend so much time lost without a map, it could have edged its way up to greatness. But as it is, it's not quite there. Fortune Summoners is a fun little title with good value, a fun and often challenging battle system, and the most endearingly cute characters this side of Happy Tree Friends. So give the demo a try, and if it seems fun, remember that there's a guy working a day job in Japan who would just love to keep producing games like this if he could live off the money. This is another successful localization for Carpe Fulgur, and I can't wait to see what they've got coming next. Carl gave Fortune Summoners a 7.7 out of 10. Seems Carl had a busy week. Next up is his review of Zack Zero for the PlayStation Network. He said, Zack Zero isn't quite a diamond in the rough, but it's still a pleasant surprise. If the obviously imminent sequel shores up a few bugs and works on improving the combat, I think it could be the perfect platforming distraction for those who really don't mind a somewhat cliched storyline. As it is, Zack's an unexpected hero that PS3 owners should give a chance, and I congratulate Crocodile Games on a successful PSN debut. Carl gave Zack Zero a 7.8 out of 10. Be sure to read the full reviews for these games and many more on gamerreview.vgcharts.com.
We're going to finish up with something that I have to just classify in the really weird file, and that's that EA recently came out praising Call of Duty Elite. And Call of Duty, of course, is owned by Activision, which is EA's absolute biggest rival. These are, the number one, number two game publishers on the planet. But of course, a company like EA, who kind of created the online pass and obviously loves money, would praise the subscription-based service Call of Duty Elite. And this really made me look at the gaming sort of world as it is right now, the gaming environment, with how much things have changed. I mean, I remember back in the day, this isn't that far back, you don't have to be a gamer in your 30s to remember when you bought a game and that was it. What you spent on it, you got the whole game. There was nothing else coming. Maybe if it was a PC game, you might get an expansion later on. But generally, the 30, 40, 50, 60 bucks you paid, that was it. That was the whole game. That's all there was. And now you've got stuff like, these subscription-based premium services. DLC, of course, is a hot topic. Online passes, which I despise. Season passes and pre-order bonuses and things of this nature. And it really made me focus on this one central question behind all of this. And that is this just the current natural evolution of this business, or have these game publishers become predatory for our gaming dollars? And I realized I couldn't just give one answer, because all of these things sort of are different. Now let's start with these subscription services like Call of Duty Elite. Kind of a first of its kind thing, but I'm sure it won't be the last. Now I've got no problem with Call of Duty Elite. You go buy Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3, you get the whole game. You can go play online, Spec Ops, single player campaign. It's all there. There's no online pass. There's no nothing else, really. And so Elite is just something else to tack onto it. So if you're really that core player, you just love to play lots and lots and lots and lots of Call of Duty, it adds so much more for you. And of course, you get all the DLC that's coming for free. So I think that's just a great added service. You can totally opt out and still have a great gameplay experience. But of course, this leads me into probably the biggest hot button of this whole group, and that is DLC. There are these map packs that come out, and some people feel like, it makes it harder to play because now all of your friends about the map pack. It's sort of a peer pressure thing. But I'm going to move beyond just Call of Duty when it comes to DLC and look at the industry as a whole. And I have seen so many people give so much venom to DLC. They really think this is content that should have been on the disc. I paid $60 for this game. Why isn't it already there? And there's sort of this conspiracy theory that, they finish a game and they go, okay, what can we take away so we can sell it to you later as DLC? Now, generally, I don't think that's the case. I'm sure there are, sadly, a few cases where that probably is true. But for the most part, I absolutely don't. There's a time between when a game goes gold, when they send the code to get printed on discs, and when the game comes out. It's usually a couple months. And what do you think the developers do? They just sit there and twiddle their thumbs waiting for the money to roll in? No, they're working. They're probably getting paid by the hour, they're getting paid by the week or the month. And someone's got to pay them. They want them to be doing work. So a lot of times I think that's where these day one patches will come out as further work, and where a lot of this DLC comes out. And same with after the game's been released. It's that these developers keep working and keep working and keep working and create more content. But also it comes down to how much value is on the disc. You don't hear people complain too much about DLC for the Fallout games, for instance, because you already have hundreds of hours of content on disc. And so when they add on this DLC stuff, no one complains near so much as they do with other games, because it doesn't feel like content was held back. It feels like more development occurred after the game was done. Not to mention there's always a gap of time between when the game releases. Several months pass before that first piece of DLC. So I think game developers need to be aware of this too. Need to be aware of the perception of your DLC. If you're going to release DLC, make it valuable, make your original game valuable, and give some time for people to get through the content that's already there before you give them the DLC. Of course, this also comes back to season passes, which are something I like. Now, for this, you got to, either you're in the camp of I hate DLC or I like DLC. If you hate DLC, you hate season passes. It's kind of how it works. If you like DLC, which sometimes I do, I think the season pass is great. You can pay this amount up front. I did this with LA Noire because I really enjoyed the game and I wanted the bonus content. So I paid $20 and got all the DLC. And it was more than $20 worth of DLC, and I thought that was just a great deal since I knew I wanted that anyway. I think it's a good way to encourage people to go after that DLC if you're offering it at a discounted rate. But once again, if you hate DLC to begin with, it's kind of a moot point, the whole season pass thing. All right, online passes. I have ranted and raved about online passes so much, and I will never stop. I don't want to get into it too much because honestly, if you've seen my videos, you know how I feel about this. It's horrible. It's just money grabbing, and the worst of it was seen in a brilliant game, Batman Arkham City, where you flat out lost the Catwoman content if you didn't have the online pass. Personally, my roommate bought it for $360, and I couldn't use the Catwoman content because I was playing it on my account, and that's bull. It's on the disc. You were literally locking content away from me that's on the disc, and not even talking about online capacity, but you're actually taking that away from me. Recently, I was frustrated with Uncharted 3. I have platinums in Uncharted and Uncharted 2, but Uncharted 3, 2 of the trophies require you to complete. Just complete. You don't have to do a lot of stuff. One competitive online game, one cooperative online game. Couldn't touch it. No online pass. I got it from GameFly. And, that sucks. And I think it's crap. I think game developers, while I understand they need to make a profit, they need to make money. Especially for 360, we're already paying for the online service. Don't tack on an online pass on top of it. That's crap. It's absolute bunk. Are game publishers predatory? Sometimes. I think EA has definitely demonstrated this when they've added their online passes to games that have no online whatsoever. They've done this with Mass Effect. They've done this with Dragon Age, that they tack on an online pass, though there is no online. And, now with things like Rage and Batman Arkham City taking away single-player content, for that I feel like it is. And I know sometimes it does happen that DLC should have been on the disc. LA Noire, I come back to it even though I actually enjoyed it and played it and bought the DLC. They full-on admitted that they didn't have enough room on the disc to put everything on there that they wanted to. And so a lot of what we got in DLC is stuff that really should have been on a disc if they had the room for it. And so that kind of sucked. But for the most part, no. I think a lot of this is simply saying, you like this game, how about we give you more content? We give you more of what you like. I think that is what most of it is. But don't get me wrong. I know it happens. I know that crappy stuff happens too. Let's hope we see less of it. But, obviously the online pass isn't going to go away. It works, or we wouldn't see more and more games using it. So that sucks. All right, big soapbox, big rant, but I'm done with it and done with this episode. We'll see you guys next time.